Welcome back to the Current Comfort and Coffee podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Randy. I'm joined here by
John.
Hi, John.
Hi.
How you doing?
Hey, Randy.
I'm a licensed mechanical, electrical, and boiler contractor in the state of Michigan.
I'm a master electrician for Delaire Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. And
we're here to talk about some crazy shit. Yeah, just all sorts of stuff. I wanted to hit on this is it's been 3 weeks since we made an episode, and that's because we always record on Sundays. Last Sunday, we were out at a job site running wire, and I was on call. And the Sunday before that, I was installing a unit heater in that same oil change facility. So we just literally did not have time to do the podcast. So it's been a couple weeks. I'm glad to be back in J. Patrick Studios.
Back in the rhythm.
Yeah, it's really cool. I didn't realize, I knew I enjoyed this time, but I didn't realize how much I enjoyed this time until I missed it 2 weeks in a row. And I was like, I miss going and doing the podcast. Yeah, so
it's good release valve, in kind of an unusual way. I don't know how many listeners we have really.
4.
I think it's more. Up to 2.
Yeah, exactly.
That, baby.
Might be able to get some good TikTok clips or something. But yeah, no, we put in that unit heater and talk about a fun time. In the moment, it's less fun, right? You're struggling to get a thing installed. It's a unit heater. They used to have 2 tube heaters in an oil change facility. And we're putting this huge 200,000 BTU hanging unit heater. And I'm there with Andrew, my brother, and I was like, how are we getting this thing up here? And he said, well, originally it was going to be me and these 2 other guys, but now it's just you and me. I was like, okay. So back to my question, how are we getting this thing up there? So we ended up tying a rope around it, and I went and I bought a chain fall from Harbor Freight, just a cheap chain fall. It was less than $100, and hooked that to a gas line that I strung across those rafters in that like short little attic space.
Yep.
And we slowly lifted that thing up until it was high enough, and it still wasn't high enough. So I ended up getting up underneath that thing. I'm on top of a 10-foot A-frame ladder. Andrew's on top of a 12-foot A-frame ladder, and he's trying to get the threaded rods into the U-channel that's up inside of those joist bays, and I'm trying to lift it. I ended up getting up under it, like putting my back up against it, and then just kind of like cow posing. Yeah. Yeah, I totally took yoga classes. So yeah, we got it up there. Yeah, we got it installed.
When I walked in there and you guys are like, hey, we got an electrical problem. I walked in and I'm like, how the hell did you 2 get that car up in the air? The thing is huge.
Yeah, it was one of those ones where like in the moment it sucked, right? Like it was terrible. But you look at it when you're done, you're like, damn, dude, like we make that shit happen. Yeah, and it was nice and warm in there. Yeah. One of those tube heaters wasn't working, but it's just because the doors are always opening in there and the cars are always coming in and out. It doesn't really give it a chance, because the way the radiant heaters work is they heat up surfaces. They emit infrared light, which hits surfaces and warms them up. Well, what's directly beneath them is somebody else's car that's about to pull out of here. So you sit there and you melt all the snow off the car, and then it pulls out. You bring in another ice cold car. So it's just sitting there wasting energy on melting ice off of cars when you could be heating the air in the room. And that thing keeps up now.
Yeah.
So
and then walked in there, it was like,
yeah, it was like, you should turn this thing down.
It was freezing last week.
Yep. So and then
any feedback from the customer on that one?
He's very happy with how well it heated.
Good.
So yeah, it's warm in here now. It never cools off and all that. The electrical though, I wanted to talk about that a little bit because that was an endeavor.
Yeah. I think that was one part probably inexperience, and one part old building that may have had something goofy going on. I think I know what I got was kind of a I got shocked on the neutral. I think Andrew got shocked on the neutral.
Mm-hmm. Because it was a shared neutral.
Yeah, so it's the building's old enough to where it's using shared neutral, and there's no, which you can still do if you break or tie all those things together. You can still share a neutral, but he touched the neutral, and if you a lot of people a lot of early electricians kind of think like, it's a neutral, you don't get shocked at it.
Mm-hmm.
You do get shocked
if it's in use, you do.
Yeah,
you got alternating current coming back on
you
that.
got current coming back on it. So I think that kind of surprised him. And then I think the other part was that you guys were operating basically with touchless testers. So what it was picking up as far as voltage, maybe there was a real problem there. I didn't see the problem that was explained to me.
Yeah.
So when we tied back in, everything worked just fine.
Cool. Yeah, I think you were right though about it being a live neutral, just based on the amount of wires in that box and the amount of like breakers we had to flip on and off to identify what was what. Like we didn't really know what was in that box until we did the diagnostic of figuring out what was in that box.
Commercial's very it's a different beast. And the other thing is that what they did was they put single gang mud rings on all those boxes so that it choked those 4 square boxes down into a single hole. So when you open it up, it's just a bird's nest inside there, and you're like, you don't even want to start pulling on things because then things come out wire nuts and you get hurt.
Right. Some of them are live.
Yep. So that's why I said, we need to wait. Let's shut all 3 circuits in this conduit down and get it figured out.
Yep.
So.
And then we just ran a new BX across for MC across the ceiling. Look what up.
The BX versus MC.
Yeah. I don't know why we call it BX.
Refer to it as BX.
Yeah,
and I'm not saying you're wrong.
No, that's just where I got it from. Was from older guys calling it BX. It's just it's a metallic flexible metallic conduit FMC. With we normally do a 10-2, a 12-2, or a 14-2 with a ground. I do carry a 14-3 for mini splits. Same thing, but it's got like a polypropylene coating on the outside.
Yeah.
So it's weatherproof.
It's funny. It's one of those things that's always like an in-between on the electrical and the mechanical quotes. I'm going to look this up. Chat GPT.
Well, I think back to like Joe and Ken and John.
MC has a real grounding conductor where BC, AC on our bonding strip. This is a big difference. Oh God, the dog is outside the door. You can let him in here if he's going to be making noise.
Yeah. Hi, Harlow. Don't bump the camera.
So it looks like MC has a real grounding conductor, whereas BC relies on the armor and a bonding strip.
Okay.
Which is the biggest difference. So what you typically refer to as BX cable is actually MC.
Okay.
But
because MC has the ground in it. Yep.
Yeah.
But BX the outside was the ground. So it was just 2 wires inside of a flexible.
I believe, yes. That's okay. MC tends to be preferred because it's a clear grounding path, less resistance on armor continuity, fewer bonding issues if fittings get loose. BC is still, see, it's referring as BC. Did I type it in wrong? And see, this is what makes me not trust Chat GPT.
Are you using Google? Or
no,
I'm using GPT. Gotcha. Because Gemini's will give me stuff sometimes where at the very top of a thing it does like the AI overview, and I'm like, that's incorrect.
Yeah. Well,
like I know that's not true.
Yeah, you got to be really careful. It's so stupid because it autocorrected to BC from BX to BC, and then it continued to talk about BC
as if it was a real thing.
As it was a real thing. And then I said, I meant BX. And it said, perfect. That's a classic debate. Is it?
Because I feel like you could have been
you lying to me?
Is it the same statement though? That
I actually, now that I'm reading it, I remember hearing that before, that BX had a bonding strip rather than an actual conductor.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's
basically just a strip of like metal that ran through it, all that touched the the flexible coating, so the whole thing was grounded from box to box rather than, because it was a conduit, right? A lot of people used to use conduit as the ground. Now we run wires for ground because those conduits can come disconnected. There's that one dude died in a crawl space not that long ago, the HVAC guy, and he like touched his back to a conduit that was running through the crawl space, and it fucking killed him because the ground wasn't running through there, it was disconnected or whatever, and it was energized. It was a ground fault someplace else, but it couldn't go to ground.
I'm actually terrified when I go underneath, like in crawl spaces, especially if there's water present. You know, like I went out to a customer's house for, you know, their well wasn't working, but their well pump was underneath the house, but also it was flooded with like a foot of water in some areas. And like I had boots, I could get through it. And I'm like, they're like, well, it's not that deep. And I'm like, it's not the point.
It doesn't matter how deep it is. It matters that you're
touching
wet.
something that's electrical and I'm, you know, got my feet in a puddle of water. Like that's how people die. You know, it's the same thing when you're squeezing under the joist of a, you know, a trailer, even if it's on slab on grade, you know, it's like all it takes is one wire to
touch the frame of the trailer. That was me the other day. I did, I had to replace a jumper duct for a modular home. You know, the two halves of the home have a jumper that goes from one side to the other that feeds the other set of ductwork on the other half of the building. And we're talking about spaces like that big. I'm like, I can't fit through there, but I've got to get my arm and my head through there to get to whatever. But yeah, if that had been energized, I would have just been like, pop, done. Because I'm grounded. I'm laying in dirt and cat shit.
So, and that's the thing is like, that's the thing. A good grounding system makes everything safer. You know, back in the old days, they used to have think of like the old washing machines. You remember they had the giant steel housings on them. So they had motors in them too. But the difference was that when those windings around the motors from shaking became loose, they'd touch the outside casing or the housing itself, and the housing would become live. Well, they didn't have grounding conductors. They didn't have that way of, you could blow a fuse if you drew too much, which is great, but what happens if you're not drawing too much?
Right, if it's just energizing.
Yeah, what if it's a 15 amp fuse and you're drawing 12?
Yeah,
that 12 amps can still kill you very quickly.
What is it, like 40 milliamps to stop a heart?
Yeah, it's not super low. It's not a lot. Now your skin does offer some resistance, and
thank God.
But yeah, I mean it's you can touch a conductor and very different if you stick it in your mouth.
Yep.
You know, so
we should test that out.
Okay. I'm pretty tired of life today. You know, so anyway, so think about that, how is somebody washing their clothes or doing laundry and having a bad motor and touching that machine and like that.
Yeah.
I mean, just wet hands. You know, it doesn't take much to create. So I'm not sure that's what, I don't know the exact history of the grounding, you know, system and how it was born, but I'd be willing to bet that played probably a pretty big role in kind of modern appliances.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, right? Is anytime they make a code change or a manufacturer change or just OSHA rules, you know, it's because somebody died.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Like every time we're like, this is stupid, it's because it killed somebody.
Yeah. I would argue that now it's becoming more like manufacturer lobbying.
Now, wouldn't it be nice if you bought these $50 breakers from us instead of these $10 breakers from us?
Yeah. Yes.
Or $300 breakers from us?
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that's a real thing. I can't really prove it, but it does seem
conspiracy theory.
You start looking at things like the new energy code changes. Like, okay, we went from incandescent to LED. You want to talk about the energy efficiency jump? Fucking insane.
Yep.
I mean, it's nuts.
Yeah, my bill was still $530.
And now it's like, oh, we want those LEDs to like dim with the sun as it comes up so that it maintains. It's like, really? Like, how about this? So the extra $40,000 we spend for the lighting system in this building is worth the.
Yeah, are you going to save $40,000 in the lifespan of that equipment?
No, it just
doesn't that make it free?
And it makes it hard for like professionals to take things seriously. You know, I went when they changed to this new energy code, I went to this class with these architects and engineers where they're kind of giving everybody the update so they know what this thing is and how it's being enforced. And a lot of these engineers, they're older, like they're reaching a point where they want to retire, and they don't give a fuck. They're just like, yeah, they're just all they're gonna do is write on the drawings. Electrical contractors responsible for meeting, the local energy code, because they don't want to learn it. They don't want to encompass it into their drawings. They're just going to write that as a requirement. It's my problem as an electrical contractor. So, and they say the same thing. They'll say, like, this is just a money grab. Yeah. Like this makes no sense. This is just, politics.
Yeah. I feel like it's it's not too different from the HVAC side. I mean, like, there's codes where it's like you have to have an emergency drain pan underneath a piece of condensing HVAC equipment. That makes sense. It produces water. You want to be able to, like, throw a hockey puck in there and be able to turn it off if it's leaking water, or at least have that option. If it's in a finished basement is the rule. But some of the inspectors will also take that to an extreme where the stairwell has wood. It's 50 feet that way. If this ever leaked water onto the floor and it got high enough that it would, go all the way over there and get that wood wet, it could make mold. And it's like, there's a 2x4 over there, so I have to put a pan under it. It became a point where it's like, we just have to include for a $50 washing machine drain pan to go underneath every single furnace. So we don't have to have a fight with anybody about it. Because it's reasonable if there's carpets down there, if there's walls down there, right? But if there's just a stairwell coming down, that's not a finished basement. Yeah. That's not an environment that we need to be concerned about that. Okay, we're just going to put one on every job. So that increases the cost for the client. It's only $50, but that's $50 that we didn't have to charge before. We're the company that pulls permits. So we're charging for the permit on top of that. We need to pass it. Otherwise, we got to pay reinspection fees. It's the guys who don't pull permits that benefit from shit like that, because they're not going to put that pan under there. There's $50 of savings right there. They're not paying for the permit. So now you're going to find somebody who's thousands of dollars less than us because they're skipping steps. Some of them are arbitrary and stupid, like washing machine drain pans underneath your furnace. Some of them are extremely important, like having a ground conductor connected to your furnace, right? Yep. And you don't know what you're going to get unless you ask those questions.
Yep.
As a homeowner, you've got to be more informed than ever whether the person working in your home is qualified to be doing what they're doing. It used to be a burner and a pilot assembly, maybe a blower. And it's so much more now. It's so much more complex
with the cost of equipment. I mean, it's I've had this conversation with a couple of friends of mine, just being adjacent to your guys' trade, the pumping your line set full of nitrogen so that you don't have problems 5 years down the road. What homeowner knows that?
None of them. Yeah.
Right. That's what I'm saying, and if you truly do go with the cheapest out there, you're really causing yourself more problems.
Yep. And you won't know for 5 to 10 years when that compressor fails that they didn't braze with nitrogen.
Yep.
And older systems, it didn't matter as much. People would solder the line sets together because the pressure was lower. So you wouldn't get that black scaly crap on the inside, or at least not as much of it, because you were soldering as lower temperatures.
That pressure goes up because of efficiency, right?
We were using R410A instead of R22, so we started having to braze because the pressure rating of the braze joint is higher than that of a solder joint. That being said, I worked for a company that soldered for years and years with R410A equipment. Not me. I had my own torch set, but they didn't have any problems with solder joints. My concerns with solder joints were that flux and other stuff could get into the refrigerant. So there's supposed to be nothing but refrigerant in there. No moisture, no air, not even nitrogen, nothing but refrigerant in the system. And the second that you introduce any sort of corrosion or flux or even a little chunk of solder, it can cause a problem. With R22 equipment, it was much more resilient to that sort of stuff. But now that we've got scroll compressors, higher pressures, different metering devices like TXVs that are mechanical metering devices, they need to not get gummed up instead of just a little piston, a hole. That stuff is more sensitive to those points of failure, and you don't find out about that until much, much later when somebody didn't do the thing. And now there's acid in the system because they didn't vacuum it down properly or pressure test it properly. And they've got moisture in the system. And then now 7 years from now, you've got a burnout, which is just this black, disgusting stuff starts to come out of the refrigerant lines because all the oil absorbed all this moisture, and then literally like almost like a little fire inside of there, it burned out inside the compressor. You might as well just replace the unit again. And it's 7 or 10 years old, and there's no reason why a properly installed system wouldn't last 20, 30 years because it's sealed. It's hermetically sealed, and there should only be refrigerant in there. So aside from like a mechanical failure of some kind, like if that TXV did fail or if the compressor was like the windings weren't as good as, but everything's either like an Emerson or a Copeland scroll compressor. Especially with air conditioning, you're really just looking at the parts are all made by the same few manufacturers. The only proprietary stuff is the design of the coil, and there's some manufacturers that are known for having leaking coils and stuff, but really they've all got comparable warranties and all that. The difference is the install. The difference is how well the person put it together. And that's one reason I really like press is for us is you don't have to purge it with nitrogen while you press on a fitting because you're not introducing flame to it. You still have to nitrogen pressurize to make sure there's no leaks. But with those new refrigerant press fittings, it takes that error out of it, saves us on a little bit of nitrogen. The fittings are a little bit more expensive, but it's the right thing to do to have that newer style system. The downside of that is now just imbeciles have access to it, and they're not going to do the pressure test portion, despite being able to make good crimps. So they might have leaks and things like that.
I feel like stuff like that. It's the same thing with it is, but it's not. The same thing with like shark bite fittings. It's when you take kind of the more complicated work out of it, it's great for like the bottom line.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We save money on the guys out in the field. You eliminate errors happening, but also you get kind of a less I want to say not because of them, like the labor field just isn't as incentivized to be taking the skilled out of skilled labor, right?
Yep.
But not all of it, just like half of it.
Yeah.
So,
I agree. And I mean, like you even look at things like press fittings or like shark bite fittings. There's prep work that goes into that people just don't do. You're still supposed to sand down that fitting. You're supposed to chamfer the edges. You're supposed to mark your fitting to know that it's all the way on before you crimp it or when you're finished pressing it. Like there's still people that skip those steps and then they wonder why they've got a leak 2 or 3 years from now. Oh, these shark bites are junk. Did you prep the fitting the way that the instructions tell you to? Even the press fittings, like it's not so you can just press onto anything. It's a gasket inside of there and a copper to copper connection. If there's a bunch of corrosion on the copper, if there's old solder or flux or just dirt, that gets in between that connection. And then you've got a leak in a couple of years. Get out your freaking sandpaper and prep the fitting so that it's copper to copper, nice and clean. There's no sharp edges cutting up your O-ring that's in there, and you've got a good tight seal. And again, contractors skip those steps and handymen skip those steps. You don't know it until years later.
Yep. So
think about that, folks. But yeah, no, that back to the oil change place, that was like a learning curve for me. Not that I completely comprehended where everything was going. Obviously, it was kind of like a nightmare of where so-and-so put wires in and where they got adapted to 20 years later and where they got changed 3 years after that. Like, we don't know. But identifying what circuit that thing was supposed to be on and realizing that they shared neutrals and all that. Like, I had no idea that things could share. I mean, I knew they could, but I didn't know there was a point that like people did that routinely. You know what I mean?
The reason I think they get away from that is that if you have 20 amps going down a phase, usually you have 20 amps coming back.
Mm-hmm.
If you have 20 amps going down phase A and 10 amps going down phase B on a shared neutral, you have 10 amps coming back. But if you have 20 amps going down phase A, and that other breaker gets put on phase A as well, now you have 40 amps coming down.
Oh,
neutral. So
because the phases no longer cancel each other out.
That's why it's important to breaker tie them so that they're together. They're not on the same phases. Mm-hmm. It ensures that they don't get separated by whatever ding dong comes in next.
So that your two sine waves are opposite each other.
So yeah, and obviously that math gets a little more complicated with 3-phase, but
what?
It's but yeah, I mean that's the point is, if we used to tie garbage disposals and dishwashers together. Mm-hmm. So we'd run a 3-wire because it's basically the same plug. And then you'd have one that went up to the switch and it turned the garbage disposal on and off. So it was kind of a more complicated wiring. I digress. Anyways, back at the panel, if you take the dishwasher and if you take the dishwasher and the garbage disposal and they were running at the same time and they were both put on the same phase, you've got the full load of both the dishwasher and the disposal going down the neutral. So if that is over the rating of the wire, now that wire's just getting hot. There's no breaker on the neutral. So that's the point of sharing neutrals is a thing. It's you do see it sometimes. They typically don't do it anymore because now you have to tie together. And it's to turn one thing off, you got to turn 3 things off, and it's just
makes more sense to run a dedicated line.
Yeah, just
especially in a panel that has room for another breaker and another neutral, and
yeah.
So, well, so how about this? When probably a little bit different question, but it's not too uncommon for me to look inside of a panel and see multiple circuits on one breaker.
Mm-hmm.
Is that just because there's not room in the panel and somebody was lazy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it is. I mean, a lot of those, that's a little more complicated question, right? Because it just depends on what you're doing on that breaker. There is some code that dictates what circuits need to be dedicated, right? They've got to, certain wires have to be protected by certain size overflow devices. A 12 gauge wire has to be protected by a 20. So I think I believe a lot of those breakers, the way they are rated to have 2 different wires underneath them.
Okay,
which is okay. You can do that. I think the question of legality comes from what are you putting underneath there, right? Yeah. So if you have a dedicated a microwave, that's going to draw most of what's on that 12 gauge circuit or that 20 amp circuit, and you put it on a breaker with a toaster, right? Something else that's
high amp draw, high wattage,
washing machine, right? So if you put those both under, they're technically still dedicated circuits, but they're also probably going to blow your breaker if they're running together because they're, they're not really doing that.
Right. Don't microwave your TV dinner while you're washing laundry.
I haven't thought about this question in depth, so if anybody's got anything to add to that,
no kidding.
Welcome to
for sure. But I only see it as an HVAC service technician every once in a while, where it's like, oh shit, there's the furnace circuit, but this is also hooked to the basement light circuit, and it's got 2 separate, conductors. There's not much I can do about that now, other than like quote them to add a breaker and wire them separately or something. If the panel's full of minis and there's no room in there, that's like, okay, well, it's the lighting circuit and the furnace. The lighting circuit's not going to have it's not a toaster, it's not a hair dryer, or a washing machine. It's just the lights in theory, until somebody puts in one of those adapters and plugs a vacuum into it. So like every once in a while, I'll see something like that where it's supposed to be a dedicated circuit because it's a furnace. I'll see on air conditioning units, sometimes there'll be a plug tied off of one of the legs of the air conditioner into ground as the neutral rather than.
So I don't know what the exact reason is as to why they require your equipment to. I'm sure there's more than one reason. It also takes a lot of variables out of the system when a piece of expensive equipment doesn't have a bunch of other things on it, because now you don't have, when you don't have a bunch of additional points of failure that could damage that equipment. You don't have like 5 lights in that basement that maybe come off and short out, or you don't have things that get plugged in that could damage circuit boards and whatever in that circuit. So I would assume that a lot of that code revolves around just protecting that equipment and keeping as many variables out of the system as you can.
And I know it is enforced now too that it be on a dedicated circuit. I know a lot of older equipment, when it was tied into like the lighting circuit or whatever, if it like power came into that room and then came out of a light socket and then down into the side of the furnace, like an old piece of conduit or whatever, they would have an SSU with a 15 amp fuse in it to make that one device fusible.
Yep. That would protect it to some degree.
Yeah. I mean, I imagine that if the circuit as a whole is pulling more than 15 amps, then the fuse or the breaker on the panel would also fail. So.
And it is about, and now that you got circuit boards and everything in those, it's more than just about overcurrent conditions, right? It's about faults in different areas. It's about,
I would say the majority of the time, if I take an amp draw on that unit, it's less than 3 amps. With the ECM or variable speed motors, the board itself will take less than 0.2 amps if there's no call for heat. The exhaust motor will take anywhere between like 0.75 and 1.5. And then maybe the blower motor will kick on and throw it up above like in the 5 amp range if it's on like super high speed or something. But with the like not invention, but the like onset of electrically commutated motors and variable speed drive motors, it's been like I've seen my amp draws go from like 10 down to like 3 to 5 during operation, and it's still on a 15 amp circuit.
So you're and I think you're touching on again basically what we've been talking about this whole time is that we've got simultaneously equipment that's becoming more complex and sensitive as we increase in efficiency, and we also have innovations in the industry that are making the need for complexity of installs better. And those two things, I think, sometimes tend to create more problems.
Yeah. Well, I think, and like a lot of, I don't want to throw like a bunch of people under the bus, but there's like a lot of old timers, guys that have been doing this for a long time that just tie back into what was there for an electrical circuit without making sure it has a dedicated ground that's, contiguous. It doesn't just ground to a box up in the ceiling that used to be connected to a conduit, but now it's a Romex, or, what I mean? Like if you don't have a ground on your system, flame sensors don't work. They throw random codes sometimes if the circuit board doesn't have proper grounding. You'll get like pressure switch codes and flame on with no flame present codes. And it's like, what is happening with this thing? Oh, it's not grounded. And I went to a boiler not too long ago. I'd say it was maybe 6-7 years ago. And I touched the gas line. I was pulling the gas line apart and across between where it was connected to the unit and where I disconnected it, it jumped. And
that's terrifying.
Thank God I turned the gas off and it didn't light or something. And it was because the boiler, there was some place in the house, something was shorted to a boiler line somewhere. I had 40 volts traveling from the boiler to that gas line, which was grounded because it ran through a crawl space and touched ground. So across anywhere on any of the things to that gas line, I had 40 volts of potential. And I went outside, no grounds.
Yep.
Nothing hooked to the panel, nothing hooked to the meter box, no ground.
As a homeowner, how many times have you checked to see if your house is properly grounded?
Right. Yeah. Go check right now. I have. I looked at mine not too long ago after we did a panel install. I was like, I wonder if I've got a ground rod. I only have one. The house was built in 2002.
I think arguably that's all you need.
Yeah. But now if we were to replace it, you need 2 and they've got to be a certain distance apart.
Yeah, but there's also an exception there that says if you can prove the impedance that you only required 1, but proving the impedance would require like testing soil conditions. So it's really not worth it.
Yeah. Might as well just put in a second ground rod.
It's just like, it's a fail safe, I guess, in case you have shitty soil. But
I've got like clay.
Yeah, I don't know the chemistry behind what would cause. I no idea. I know that it's not worth testing, and there's no meaningful way of actually testing or proving it. So we just put 2 every time.
Yeah,
but I with little information, I would say that you could probably have one, and it would be just fine.
As long as it's an actual ground. Yeah. My water line is also grounded that comes in from the city, and that's a metal line that comes up out of the concrete, runs through the ground.
As far as you know.
Yeah. But it's grounded across the meter and then back to the panel and then back to the earth ground. So something's grounded somewhere there.
These newer builds, they've really resolved the whole problem by just putting in a piece of rebar that's like 20 feet long that they just put right into the concrete. So you can just tie right into it, and you don't have to worry about getting to a water line and hoping that water line. Actually, the water lines nowadays are
plastic.
Yep. So they don't even really work as grounding conductors anymore.
That makes sense.
Pointless. So anyways, we may have gotten too far into the technical details on today's episode.
That's okay. That's kind of what this whole thing is about, is for us to just kind of bleh, and then people can decide whether they think that's worth their time or not. I like the idea that this show is multiple things. Some people will love that we're ranting about technical stuff, and some people will hate it, but they'll like when we talk about community stuff. Like if we talk about how our coffee today is from Fireside Coffee Roasters.
They don't sponsor us at all.
Well, they gave me caffeine today, so I like them.
It's true. My other one was Folgers. I don't know where it went.
That's part of waking up.
I made some before I went for a run this morning. Yep. All right, so I don't know. Give a topic to today. I don't know. Let's see what we got. Trades versus college.
Hit me with the top. Trades versus college. Both have value, and it depends on what you want to do with your life.
Do both have value in the aspect of everything?
Well, so I feel like there's actually 3 options here. You've got college, you've got trade school, which could be out of college, and then you've got just going straight into the trades. I went straight into the trades because what I do for a living does not require a degree or any sort of education. Yours requires that you at least be enrolled in a program while getting
not actually do it. There's no actually.
Yeah, you just have to be enrolled.
It's just kind of crazy.
Yeah, it is kind of crazy. But there are people who thrive in learning environments and would benefit from programs that teach like HVAC or electrical. I took it's called the GISD. I can't remember the name of it now. It used to be called the Skill Center.
Yep.
It's got a new name now. But I took commercial wiring when I was in high school, and I loved that class. I also took Automotive 2. I don't know why they let me skip Automotive 1, but I took Automotive 2.
Test it out.
No, they just Automotive 2's open, so I took Automotive 2. And that was fine because that was the class that you could actually work on the cars in. But yeah, with the commercial electric, same thing. You were supposed to take residential electric, and then you could take commercial electric. I never took the residential one. I only took the commercial one. And it's fine. We learned to like bend conduit and basic circuits.
They're fundamentally different things. They've got a core concept.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like I learned all the basic residential stuff in the commercial class too. And I think that Mr. Perry, he was the instructor at the time, knew that there was kids in that class that hadn't taken the residential electric, so he just changed the curriculum enough to like include the basics for people. Like instead of running Romex with clips, we ran conduit and pulled wires through it and wired it up to a light. We only worked on 3-phase in concept. We didn't play with 3-phase wiring. I play with it more today as an HVAC technician than I did in my commercial wiring class. So I think that programs like that are invaluable for kids to find out whether they would like doing that or not. Regardless of whether they go get a degree in it or not is a whole different thing.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I have no quarrels with college. I think there are some things that it makes sense for. I think that society has leaned too hard.
Oh yeah,
on college,
on $200,000 of debt.
Yeah. I mean, there's an entire ecosystem of generating insane amounts of money to it's an industry, right, at this point. Um, I, as I have, the more time I've spent in the trades, in the electrical trade, the more I firmly believe that apprenticeship should be everything. Really. I mean, you can teach me behind a book all day long, and some people operate really well that way, but to really have it sink in, to be fundamental to like your work ethic, I think doing is the way to do it. And I think you find the people who are naturally drawn to those trades or occupations by doing it. You know, I can tell you in a week whether a guy wants to wire a house or not, or whether this is going to be his career. I can tell you, because people who like to build like to build. People who like working with their hands like working. It's very obvious. I'm sure I would be willing to bet anything it's probably the same in the medical field. You have people who are passionate about it, who like doing that thing. And I think apprenticeships should be more than just trades, physical trades.
Right. I feel like, let's say the medical field, for instance, there are different levels to what you do in the medical field that are kind of similar to that. Like you don't just jump straight to RN. You know, you don't just become a doctor. You have to go through all these different levels of education and experience before you can get to your residency or whatever it is. My wife's a psychologist. Like, I am glad that she has the education that she has, and I'm sure she is too, because that helps her with her career and what she does for a living. And she has to test in order to be a qualified psychologist. Same as a psychiatrist that takes also medical training on top of it to be able to prescribe prescriptions. And you need to know what those things do to people before you're allowed to put it on a pad, right? And that is book work. You have to memorize things and know stuff about how chemicals interact with the body in order to diagnose things. I do feel like that has its own inherent value where that book learning is required. But as far as like the late teens, early 20s, figuring out what you want to do, I think you're right. I think job shadowing, apprenticeship is the best way to get your foot in the door somewhere and find out this is for me, or I don't want to work there.
And if at that point, you know, reaching the next level requires schooling, awesome. I feel like I would have really liked to have been an architect. If I could do it all over, if I could go back. There's not a lot I would change in my life because, like, I've had goods and bads, but honestly, it's all worked out to some degree. Even the bads have worked out.
Has anybody ever told you that you could still be an architect today?
Yeah. And maybe that will be a thing when I feel like costs of college, honestly, at this point is a lot.
You have to have a degree in architecture?
I believe in order to be taken seriously, yes, I believe you have to have an engineering degree of some sort. I could be wrong. And I may go back to, but I think college is where most of that stuff is taught. But yeah, I mean, I just, when I go,
you get a part-time job as an apprentice for an architect.
Well, when I go down into Detroit, you see some of these churches, just an example. I'm just blown away. I'm blown away by the architecture down there. Like the beauty of some of those buildings. It's funny. We were in Owasso, which felt very out in the middle of nowhere last week working on a project, and there is in town, there's this just beautiful structure. I mean, it's huge, a big bell tower on the top of it. You know, it's like we're in the middle of nowhere.
Like somebody built that church and the town happened around it after that.
Well, it wasn't a church. It was, I don't think it was a church. It looked like city hall or some sort of government structure. But I mean, I digress. I don't even know what the fuck I was talking about.
Schooling versus apprenticeship.
I mean.
I feel like we're on the same page as far as that's concerned. Like, I obviously did not go to college for what I do. I had a little bit of exposure when I was in high school through essentially a high school trade school program. And I feel like the worst part about trade schools is they all seem like they fail. You know what I mean? Like Baker College had an HVAC program. They're not around here anymore. Mott has one. They're community college. And I know Jeff Brandis, one of the instructors, is a really good guy, very intelligent man. I don't know what they learn in that class. I've seen some of the people leave those classes and still not know how to use a drill, you know? And I feel like there's some practical application that's different than the theoretical application. And I feel like your first class should be the exposure to the field work, like what it's like to be in that position.
I think there's two fundamental problems going on there when it comes to schools. You've got, first of all, people who do things with their hands, who are good at doing that. Like they're not, a lot of them are not drawn to actually sitting in front of a bunch of students and teaching them.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I did not have a lot of different mentors over the course of my career who were knowledgeable. Most, I would say, of the people I worked with were there. It was clear as to why they were probably going to work labor most of their life, because they didn't have a lot of great social skills.
Yeah,
and it's not a shot. I mean, I think some people are just, that's where they're comfortable, and that's what it is. But I think you have that kind of aspect of it, and then also there's a shortage, right? Like we don't have enough people who have been told go in the trades. This is historically, I feel like the trades have really been looked down on. I've been in houses of people who treated me like shit most of the time I was in their house because I was beneath them.
Yeah.
Even though they couldn't do the thing that I was doing, it was, there was a perception there, and it was clear by the way they treated me.
I've had the same issue before, where I've gone into a house and it's that, they'll explain to me what's going on or whatever, and then I'll sit down in front of the furnace and start to look at like the code readout or whatever, and then they'll be like, well, you got to take the doors off the furnace first. And I know I've been doing this for a couple decades, like I'm looking at the indication light to see if it's giving me a fault code right now. And I'll start to explain what I'm doing along the way, because they don't know. They don't know what you know. And the fact that they don't know what you know is probably what creates a lot of that resistance. Like they think what you do is simple, even though they haven't learned it. Yep. And why am I getting a reverse polarity code? Because somebody else hooked black to white and white to black further up in the circuit.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I completely agree that there should be more apprenticeship training type things. In fact, I think that's how you root out a lot of the bad attitudes that people have learned along the way in other places. Like they might be really good at HVAC, but they're not good with people. And if they don't vibe with the culture that you currently have, then they're going to be a toxic part of your company going forward, because they don't bring to the table the same core values that you have.
I feel like that those job site personalities are pretty typical to the trade, and I think they're also part of the reason why we struggle to bring people in. It's because I'll tell you this, like the two guys that were my journeymen, rest their souls, they're both passed, but they were, one of them in particular was cruel. I mean, he was, he would throw things, he would scream,
life is too short for that shit, man.
Yeah, I know, man. It really, it's, I know I said something to, earlier this week about, having to spend 4 years in the worst of the trade, which is the bottom level, where people who don't know what they're fucking doing, who have been doing the labor part of it forever, talk to you like you're a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Like that's real. Like you have to get through that. And if you go into the trades thinking that some amazing electrician is going to teach you right off the get, no, you have to find that guy.
Yeah.
You do. You have to be able to identify him as, and that's difficult to do for a younger kid. My first impression of the trades, not even the trades, just the labor market in general, was that every contractor I worked for treated me like shit.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to work in the trades because contractors treated me like shit whenever I helped a guy that was doing sprinkler heads, or they treated me like garbage. And I had to, I mean, it got past that as I got older because I was focused on electrical specifically, but yeah, it hurts our industry. But also, a lot of people would rather go to college than work.
Yeah. I feel like there's college programs where it's completely necessary, like computer programming and stuff. You need an instructor to show you how to speak a new language.
Yep.
Psychology, medical field, and getting your foot in the door and finding out you're interested in it, I feel like is a completely different thing than like learning the theory, learning how to do the work. I've been in industry trainings where I've been, for manufacturers where it's like, this is how you install our product. And that sort of stuff has given me invaluable knowledge about how all equipment works, not just their equipment, because ultimately you're setting gas pressures on any furnace. You're setting blower speeds on any furnace. Duct design is an important thing to learn, and you're not just going to learn it from some Joe Schmo in the field. You've got to learn it from somebody who studied the manual D. And I feel like if you want to keep furthering your education, you're going to seek out those opportunities to learn, whether it be a semester-long class or a 3-day-long Generac training.
Mm-hmm.
You learn those things by attending them and being involved in them. Whether it's book work, field work, whatever, it's all work.
I learned them by quitting my job. I did it a lot.
Yeah.
If I got pigeonholed into doing the same thing every day, I just quit.
Yeah.
I was never afraid of that change, whereas I think a lot of people are. They don't want to start all over. They like the prestige they've earned over the years with the people. They didn't matter to me.
Every time I've left a company, it's for a significant pay raise. It's been because the company I was working for didn't value me as much as this new company who saw my skills and abilities had grown to from before when I hired into this company, and the other company, I'd put in my notice or whatever. There was never like well, how much are they offering you? What are they going to have you do over there? It was always just like, okay, bye. Screw you, dude. Yeah. Okay.
Well, we're coming from a generation before us that I think saw employment differently.
Yeah. I don't need to be
was a thing, but nobody's ever been loyal.
Yeah, exactly. Well, if I put in a 2 weeks notice, that's me saying like, hey, I'm going to make this change, but I don't want to just drop everything and leave. That's not fair to you. But try to think of people I've had working for me, only a couple of them have put in a 2 weeks notice. Most of them have been like, screw this place, and they leave, An employer's not going to give you a 2 weeks notice.
Yeah.
They just, hey, today's your last day, and
because you could screw me on the way out. Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Well,
yeah. The only place.
Boy, do they get pissed when you just leave them.
Yeah.
It's like, what am I supposed to do?
The only place.
What was I supposed to do if you fired me?
Yeah, right. When I put in my notice at SGI, Scott was disappointed, but I gave him a 3-week notice. And he pulled me aside, and he knew that if I just walked out that door, it was going to be a struggle to give all of my tasks to other people. So I spent the next 3 weeks walking person after person through the things that I did.
Yep.
And he took my work and distributed it amongst the rest of the group.
Now he's paying $180,000 a year to pay up 3 people to do what you're doing. That's what I'm saying. Like, yeah. I've never
his company's also grown. Things have changed, but I'm not God's gift to heating and cooling, right?
Sure.
So like, there's no reason why I was some indispensable employee. But the work that I was doing had to be given to somebody else. And as a smart business owner, which Scott is, he knew that he needed me for that 3 weeks. There was no like, get the hell out of here. It was like, okay, this is going to suck unless I do it. Versus like some crappy employee puts in their 2 weeks notice. You can just leave now. Yeah, actually, you can just go ahead and leave.
Yeah.
But I was the operations manager. So like, it didn't make sense for me to just walk out the door. And I wouldn't have done that to them,
Yeah.
When I had put in my 2 weeks notice at the next company I worked for because I wanted to start my own business, I had just been told a couple days prior that I needed to work more hours, that we were way behind on tune-ups, that we were hemorrhaging money and we needed to go make more sales. And so I put in my 2 weeks notice, and then I was like, okay, you can go. And I was like, I thought you guys were slammed. I've got a bunch of stuff that needs to get done. We can handle it. So all that stuff you were telling me about being way behind and all that. Yeah.
Just a sense of urgency.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know. It's one of the things I've always told when I went back to Consolidated. It's more of a management role, and I went up north, and I'm talking to some of the young kids in the field. They questioned me about like my career, and how did you get from here to management? And one of the best pieces of advice I tell people, and I think it's universal to everybody's trade or occupation, is you build relationships. Relationships are your career.
Mm-hmm.
It's not being an electrician. It's not how much you know. It's who you know. It's the quality of the relationships you've built. So whether or not you're going to be there tomorrow or not does not matter.
Mm-hmm.
So when you leave a company, don't give them the finger on the way out the door.
Yeah.
If you want to stay in that industry and you want to, like, this is such a bad idea to just say, well, so-and-so is paying me $1 more. Eat it. You should have paid me more. Like, don't do that.
Yeah.
You shake somebody's hand and be a good human being. Like, that's what people remember. And that's what gets you, 10 years down the road, when that guy started his own business and he's looking for somebody to manage the business.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's how you step up in your career 5-10 years later.
Yep.
Is having built those and fostered good relationships throughout.
Yeah. Every time I've left somewhere, it was a career move, and I've made it apparent, and that wasn't always well received, but this is because I want to go be a service technician now, and I'm trying to avoid all the drama at the current company. Or I got an offer to be the operations or warehouse manager at SGI,
and you can grow from there.
And I can grow from there. It's also a significant pay raise for me and my family.
Yeah.
I've always been the type of person that wanted to continue to grow and learn more and do better and explore new things. But I've always been very career oriented because I knew that, like, long term, I needed to get to a place where I wasn't the only one working in a crawl space. I wasn't the only one who could diagnose a furnace.
Yeah.
And that's why I love training so much. I think that it's very important that we train the next generation, because there's going to be a whole new set of people that have to do the hard stuff that we did when we were that age, and feel underpaid for it. But it's a learning process. It's while you're screwing around in that crawl space, dealing with silverfish and wolf spiders, you're gonna actually be learning something in that position. It sucks, but while you're stapling up wire, you're learning what the spacing is. When you're hooking up a gas line, you're learning how long the drip leg needs to be and how to plumb something, make sure it's level and clean. And there's people out there that don't do those things, and homeowners, customers appreciate that. It makes you valuable to learn how to do those things. And the more valuable you are to your employer, whether they realize it or not, the more money you'll make long term. Sometimes you've got to make a move, whether it be lateral or upward, to another company that will appreciate your talents that maybe your current employer didn't see you gain along the way. But good employers will see that, wow, you started out digging trenches and now you're wiring houses. You deserve more money. Now you've got the apprenticeship, journeyman, master's, license levels. Add some tiers to that, right? We don't have that in HVAC. You have to trust that your manager, your employer, sees the value that you bring to the table and will compensate you for that. Yeah. So it's about building those relationships, even with your boss, with the owner, whatever, to show them your value in a way that's not necessarily braggy, but hey, look at this job that I did. Be proud of it. Take pictures afterwards. Upload them to Breezy, and show them, that you're proud of what you do. And wow, yeah, that looks great, dude.
Yep.
That'll come up in your next performance review. Take pictures of your work. Post it on the internet.
It shows you take pride.
Yep.
I hope that, we obviously, we don't have a huge electrical side on, at Delaire, but I hope that someday there is that opportunity where we have the ability to train guys. Cause it's one thing I feel like I don't get to do enough of is I've been offered a job as a teacher, but like
underpaid and overworked.
Yeah. Also, I don't know. I feel like the quality of students that get forced into these programs is, I feel like I like it more at a college than at like a trade school where they're doing it as a requirement for work, because I don't know. I don't love teaching people that
aren't listening
because they have to be, or they don't care, or, it's just another thing they have to do, and fuck you. It's It's not fun.
I don't want to be here.
I truly love teaching somebody where that passion is met with the passion that I have for the trade, for doing these things. I feel like I get a lot more out of it. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. Feel like I had transitions to all topics were off the rails, but that's okay.
We love going off the rails around here.
I feel like, it's hard to keep it on the rails.
The Current Comfort and Confusion podcast. About an hour. We're like right there. Yep.
So we took about half the topics we were going to talk about. We got another half.
Cool. Make another episode.
Right now?
Nah, probably later. Maybe next week.
Maybe next week.
Same time, same place. New episodes coming at you Mondays. Bright and squirrely. Harlow's sleeping in between.
Oh, he crashed. He's had a busy month. I went running. With the weather the way it is, I went running this morning.
50 degrees.
It's fucking beautiful outside, man. I miss running down the trails. I did it for the first time in the fall, and I was like, it's beautiful out here. Like, it's a totally different kind of run. You're slowing down to go up and down hills. It's more of a jog, I guess. But I just love like the outdoor, and it takes kind of like the hard work of it away, because I'm seeing different things. I don't feel like I'm grinding necessarily. Anyways, I get him out there with me, and there's nobody out there, so I let him off the leash, and that was kind of a cool experience. He appreciated it as much as I did. So
I'm proud of you for running.
Thanks.
I don't do it. It hurts my knees. I'm a rower. Yeah. I got the rowing machine at home, and I watch the guy on the tablet row too. He tells me how to do it. There's a whole technique to that thing.
Oh, I believe it. I thought about getting into I just feel like it's another piece of equipment that I have to.
It's just a whole body workout.
Yeah.
It's a lot of different muscle groups, and you can do focuses, but like mainly, not to get too into the weeds on it, but you'll just do the leg part, and then you'll do the leg and then add the back, and then you'll just do the back, and then you'll do the back and the arms, and then you'll add all three into it's 1, 2, 3. You've got to do all of it in one smooth motion.
It's a hell of a core workout.
It is. Yeah. It's a lot. And I prefer, I prefer that over the high impact of the running, just because of my knees. Yeah, my knees and my ankles from years of being out in the field and down on my knees in front of furnaces and crawling around in crawl spaces and stuff.
I have the same problem. I had a huge problem with it when I was about 50 pounds heavier.
Yeah.
I couldn't run for very long. My knees just couldn't have me. You felt it immediately.
Yeah. My doctor says I'm down 20 pounds.
Good for you.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I didn't do it on purpose.
Stress.
I have found that I just kind of eat less. I still will do like a binge eating from time to time, especially if it's sushi night. Kieran in Davison, we had it last night for our Valentine's Day dinner. We had it DoorDash to the house. We splurged because we didn't want to go out because it was Valentine's Day. And God, it was so good. Like, I don't know. And the miso soup and the crab rangoons. And then I was like, I'm going to have a bowl of cereal.
I honestly am. It's like, honestly, the days I feel like my eating and my workout schedules are kind of in tune with each other. So days where I do extra, or I'm going to do extra the next day, I'm like, like last night I had a bowl of ramen.
Carb up.
I'm like, yep, I need to carb up for tomorrow's running. And I give myself those excuses.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty good about following through on workouts.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like you look at long ass runs like the Kremen stuff, they'll have pancake stands and pasta and stuff.
Oh, man, that would be awesome.
Yeah. You've never seen that before?
No, I'm still trying to like get into the whole like long distance, like, because anybody can run 5K, right? I mean, once you get your body kind of there, like it's a pretty reasonable distance. When you start aiming for 10 miles, like I have to actively worry about like my body running out of the chemicals that keep me going and hurting the muscles that keep me going.
Yeah.
So
that's fair.
I'm just now kind of getting to the point where I'm trying to manage those things.
Did you run 10 miles now?
I've done 7 and my foot hurt like hell. When I got, like, it took me a couple days to recover from that. I think with some walk breaks in between, I could probably manage 10 today if I
Are you going to run the crim this year?
Yes.
Nice. Cool. Are you going to run the crim this year, Noah?
Yeah, probably.
Noah said yes.
I'm going to do 10 miles with Noah. He's going to do it so much faster than me.
Like, bye, John.
I'll be like, bye.
See you in an hour.
Wait for me at the finish line. I'm going to stop for spaghetti.
Yeah, you'll see spaghetti, pancakes, or beer.
I did that at the Warrior Dash years ago, and I felt so bad afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's just the carbs that are in the beer that are the beneficial part.
Well, they gave it to me at the end, and I felt like I was
well, I wouldn't want to run after chugging a beer.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? I can barely move after I drink a beer.
Give them beers like in the middle of it. I'm like, who fucking want it? I don't get it. It's just not, I don't know. I felt so terrible after.
A beer at the end I could probably do, but I don't know that I could.
Maybe I just didn't have.
I've only ran 5Ks too. I haven't done 10 miles ever. I think the furthest I've run is 6 miles. That was when I was in my early 20s.
Yeah.
Nowadays, the furthest I run is none.
I'm not going to get to marathon level. I think if I get the 10K out,
I'm thinking triathlon for you, John.
Okay.
Okay. Sign me up. That's what he said.
Sign me up.
All right. Anything else on your heart or mind that you want to talk about before we end the episode?
Nah.
Okay.
No, it's good.
That was a good episode.
Yeah.
It's good to be back after 3 weeks.
Yeah. Just kind of puked it all out.
Yeah. It's good to get back in the groove again. Hopefully we can do it again next week.
One of these days we gotta record like an episode ahead so that we can not have as big gaps in the schedule.
It's not a bad idea. Yeah. But then I have to do twice the editing.
It's true. You do all of that, and I appreciate that you do that.
All right. Riverside is the app that we use. That's what we're recording on a laptop right now. And it does a pretty good job at like doing a lot of like pre-editing. It uses like AI or whatever to like go through the script and cut out portions that are important. If like you and I are talking about something that shouldn't be on the podcast, it doesn't think, it'll be like suggested to remove or whatever. This seems like an internal conversation, not something for the presentation. It'll cut out ums and uhs and pauses and stuff too for like the shorts. So it does pretty good.
I've seen some of that on like YouTube where it's like way overdone and it sounds like they're talking super fast like this, you know?
Yeah.
It's cut out and it's like, now I know why.
Yep.
Why do they do that?
Yep. It's about the framing. A lot of time I used to do YouTube videos for the YouTube channel that this is hosted on. And there's a lot of like editing techniques and stuff to keep users interested. And it's changing your camera frame, like how zoomed in it is on you based on what you're talking about, when, and moving it from side to side to focus on different areas when you're bringing up a picture. There's a lot of that. And like essentially appealing to the like novelty side of our brain, the ADHD side of our brain that wants to see something new and interesting all the time. If you've just got a guy looking at the camera talking like this, it's going to be boring. If you're just watching a screen where somebody's drawing, it's going to be boring. You've got to zoom in, zoom out, cut to a clip, in order to get people
so
watching
if I say something like this, does it zoom like way up on my face? Yeah,
or like every word, it like zooms in on your face, right? Like you can do things.
I really hope it does that.
Yeah, I'll do it. Yeah. Every word. Yep. There's I do the editing for like, cause this is horizontal, right? 16:9. But when we post it on shorts, I cut to whoever's talking and I do the editing to go back and forth because we're not on different cameras. That doesn't take that long, but there is like getting the frame to not be too different between back and forth is a process as well. So there's just a little bit like, I enjoy making the shorts because I feel like it draws attention to the topics and stuff that we wanted to talk about in a shorter format that does seem to spur some comments from time to time. But it is work. So, hope y'all appreciate it. I don't think so. I've got no notifications about comments. Polio.
When we had some employees leave, did we have some listens drop off as well?
No.
I was always curious how many of
they don't care about us.
Yeah.
They hate us.
That's what we'll do.
269 views on Money Isn't this one. Money Isn't the Key to Happiness. Pizza Is.
Yeah.
1.2 thousand views on the What About Just One Duck-Sized Horse. It's only 20 seconds long. 14 likes though. If I go to my dashboard,
I'm kind of with you. I don't know. I like you said, it's not about how many people we got watching. It's just
most of my comments lately have been on my how to clean a flame sensor video, because it's that time of year where people have to clean their flame sensors and they start Googling why. That video has a ton of comments on it, and in the video I talk about cleaning the flame sensor with a $1 bill, just to make sure you don't scratch it. You don't want to use sandpaper or anything like that. And this guy said, I was going to use the $1 bill cleaning system, but I only had $1,000 bill on me. If only I had the money to buy a new sensor. Yeah. Thanks a lot, brother. Clean the flame sensor after watching your video, and now my house is warm like normal. God bless you so much for your advice. It saved me from calling a technician. Took some electrical HVAC classes, but was feeling completely out of my element with my furnace issues. This broke it down incredibly easily. So this is the kind of shit that makes me think like I want to go into teaching, when people get it and it helps. You know what I mean? Cleaning a flame sensor is easy to do, and it's a very simple and common problem to diagnose and fix yourself as a homeowner with very little danger to yourself. You're not working on a fuel system or an electrical system, as long as you turn those off before you pull it out of there. And if you're hitting these certain set of diagnostic criteria, the flames light and then shut right back off, it's probably a dirty flame sensor. And I don't think that that's worth it for you to call me to come out there and clean that for you. If your system is old and you want to check everything else out, sure, but if it's 2 a.m. and you've got no heat, check this real quick. I'd rather you do that than me roll out of bed to come do it for you, And I think that there's a value to that, and that the more people that know something like that, the more beneficial it is for our species. And we just all advance. We all get better by sharing that information. All the stuff that I know should be free knowledge. And it's just not in a place where people can grab it all for free. The other people compile it and turn it into a product that needs to be sold, versus I want it to be on YouTube for free.
You sound like a socialist.
I am a socialist.
Get that away for free.
Yeah. Who's going to pay for it?
Yeah.
You get on the insurance.
Yeah, it's like the last generation not want to teach any of the young kids anything.
Yeah.
Because of job security.
You're right. Now they're retiring and nobody knows anything.
He's dumb.
Every generation, there's news articles from the late 1800s from newspapers about how the next generation doesn't want to work. And it happens with every single generation, and it's bullshit. They made it up. It's just so they can feel more important than the current upcoming generation that doesn't know anything yet. Teach them.
Yep. Show them how.
Of course they don't know how to do it. You're being a jerk. Mm-hmm. They don't want to learn it from you.
It might be an unpopular opinion. I'm just going to say it because it's a feeling that I have. But I do feel with the newer, like younger employees, there's a lot less. Not that they don't want to work, but that the physical like circling around hole, like they haven't done a lot of that.
Visual spatial abilities.
Yeah, I don't know. They just seem like touching things is like a foreign idea. I don't know how to explain that better. I just watching some of them like work a hammer is like.
Yeah. I mean, when I first learned how to work a hammer, I didn't really know how to work a hammer until somebody said, "Hey, hold it here."
To be fair,
it takes practice.
I started my apprenticeship in my late 20s, so it's a little bit of what my experience was. Yeah. Also, when I was a child, I went in the backyard and I dug holes because what else are you going to do?
Yeah.
Go dig a hole.
I liked playing with things. I had an AM radio that was one of those little rocket tubes that you could get from Cracker Barrel. Mm-hmm. And I ended up hooking it up, like taking it open, hooking it up to the frame of my parents' double wide with wire so I could get more channels. And I hooked the output that had like a little glass speaker You could just barely hear the amplitude modulation radio coming in through that. I hooked that up to an amplifier, and I got Radio Disney in my basement bedroom, dude. Yeah. And that was while I was grounded. They took away my stereo, so I built a fucking radio.
Yeah. My son's basically doing that, like the equivalent of that to me now with his cell phone. I mean, you just take one thing away.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, I
thought I was technically,
he is smart. He is smart. Although I think we got to work on kind of like the moral aspect of it a little better.
What do you mean smart about?
Yeah. Like, right. Like we need to apply that differently.
Yeah. So, for sure.
For sure.
I think that was my big thing too, is I did not have a good way to apply. I've got extremely strong visual spatial skills, and I'm not bragging. That's just something that my brain does better than some people's brains. Right. I struggle with vocabulary, and there's people that are much more verbose than I am.
Finish my sentence for me.
I love finishing your sandwiches. Because I'm predisposed to this type of work, I needed the exposure to this type of work. And I feel like that might actually be the problem. The reason why you don't see kids who know how to use hammers and stuff is because nobody showed them how. I used a hammer when I was single digits old in the garage when my dad was working on something else. I was nailing things together, for fun. When my dog died, I made the cross on 2 1x1s and a nail, and
that's how you found religion. Huh?
Yes. Yep. But we buried him in the yard, and I wanted to do something. So I made the cross, and I made sure it was as even as I could by eyeballing it. And it was something that I could do that was important to me. And it's like, it wasn't some impressive thing, but it was something I did with my hands. I used to just hang out with my grandpa in his woodshed. We built a shelf together. He showed me how to use, to get a round corner. He just grabbed a paint can and set it on the piece of wood and drew a line around it. I was like, you just turned a paint can into a tool. Like, that blew my mind at the time. I was just a kid, but like, I'm thinking you need a radius tool in order to do something. He's like, no, just grab something round. Here's a coffee cup. Nope, that's too small. Paint can. That's a nice soft curve. Perfect. And it's not something I would have thought about unless someone showed it to me. Yep. And unless you're in those environments to see that sort of thing, you don't know what you're capable of. And that's why you got to find people who like to take apart remote controls and put them back together, and like to fix things. Like, we got a card shuffler from Amazon that wasn't working, and Kristen was ready to return it. I'm like, hold on. I pulled the back off of it. One of the wires is disconnected from the battery terminals. Like, the solder's bad. Just soldered it back together. Works now. And Kristen's amazed. Wow, you fixed it. It was easy for me.
Yeah.
But unless you know how fucking batteries work.
I'm that guy in the house. My daughter told my wife that Daddy will fix it. He's smart. She's like, she goes, apparently I'm not smart like Daddy.
One of those same things happened to me when I can't remember what was going on. It was my neighbors, really nice people. She comes up to me and she asked me for help for something, and she said, Craig looked at it, but he's not smart like you. About her husband. I was like, I know that's not what she meant, but like, he's a different kind of smart.
I actually, I have I'm not going to tell that story because I do have people in my life that get treated a certain way because they're not techie or handy in that kind of way. And it's,
some people are just good at stuff like that.
Everybody's good at something different. Yeah. And there's a lot of things that I cannot do.
Do not ask me to cook.
I'm not a sales guy.
No.
Oh, I love to cook.
Lucky. I'm a good sales guy.
You should be cooking, buddy. You come over for dinner.
Ooh. See, I can follow instructions if I slow down. But even some of those like pre-made like meals, like the Home Chef style meals, I'll fuck them up.
Cooking is chemistry.
I know. I don't have any problem with the chemistry part of it. It's the following instructions part of it. If I do something enough times, I get it. Yeah. Or it's like, oh shit, that wasn't supposed to go in on this step. It was supposed to go in on the next one, but my brain was like, skip ahead.
I had this conversation because I was teaching my wife to make. I have a pizza dough recipe. It's an amazing recipe. but you have to do it in order, in the way it does. Like yeast is a living organism. If you put it in warm water, the sugar, prior to making the dough, it does a thing. If you, my wife put the yeast and the sugar in, and then she microwaved it, and I said,
you just killed the yeast.
Yes, when you did that, like there's a chemist, like you have to do it in this order, and what she did, like it came out great. She's like, I don't get it, and I'm like, it was like there's chemistry to it. It's like you just have to do it this way.
A little bit of biology.
It's like
so I'm familiar with yeast because I make mead and wine at home. I'd like to get into making beer at some point. But
bored with this.
Was it?
Oh,
okay. I thought you said I'm bored with this. I was like, I'll stop talking then, I guess. Anyway, so I understand the yeast process because you put an airlock on there and it bubbles while they're sitting there producing CO. They're converting sugar to alcohol, right? So like making those things, like I understand how the yeast works and everything. Kristen makes an amazing sourdough bread. She's got a bunch of different sourdough recipes that she'll make. And we've got like the mother yeast in a jar that we keep alive by feeding it, or she'll make it dormant by putting it in the fridge or whatever. So she can she's keeping an organism alive to give us bread. Essentially, she feeds it all-purpose flour, or bread flour rather, to like keep it going and make bread with over time. The best French toast ever. Really? And like I can make French toast because I've done the steps enough times that my French toast is fucking amazing. Make it with her bread, it's even more amazing. And I'll make a French toast grilled cheese sausage and egg sandwich.
Feel like I want to go home and make bread now,
dude. And with the eggs from our chickens, so I don't think I'm incapable of learning how to cook. It's my lack of experience with it.
Yeah.
Everything I've cooked has been simple. It's a steak. You flip it a certain time, you press on it a certain way, and it comes out the same way every time. 4 minutes each side, you're going to get a medium rare.
Right.
And you sear it first, lock in all that flavor, cover it in something, and you've got a good fucking steak. No A1 steak sauce in our house. You're going to have a good steak.
Yep.
But that's because of practice. Same thing for like all these, Kristen will make like a stir fry or whatever. If I'm just throwing everything into a pan, I can handle that too. But she'll do things where it's like, okay, this needs to go in an air fryer at this time, and this needs to get. Want me to chop something? You know what I mean? There's too many moving parts for my ADHD brain to handle that unless I've got written set of instructions, and then it's still going to be 50% longer than if Kristen did it because she comprehends those steps better than I do.
Sure.
It's just not my strong suit. And it doesn't mean that you're going to have a terrible meal, but it will be better if Kristen makes it for you.
I'm going home to make breakfast for dinner. I was going to make, I got a thing of sausage. I was going to make sausage gravy and biscuits with some eggs and toast.
One thing that really changed my life with breakfast food is the pre-cooked bacon from Costco. It's in a package, Kirkland brand. It's a bunch of bacon in there, but it's all pre-cooked. So all you have to do is throw it in a skillet or in the microwave, and it turns out great without all the grease, without all the splattering and stuff.
I've gotten the Walmart brand where it's usually cut. So even the thick stuff is cut so thin that it's just not.
These are,
it's
perfect.
It's great for as far as like flavor and texture if you're putting it on like or something. I'll have to try it.
If you put it in the microwave, it's like 6 seconds per piece of bacon, and your bacon's done.
How much? How's the cost in comparison to?
I mean, it's Costco, so it's cheap. I don't know, to be honest. What was that? Okay.
That was weird.
For those listening, something just made a "you're about to die" noise behind us. Something's on.
Oh. Life support.
Yeah, it sounded. Yeah, so beep, beep.
It's my dad's sleep apnea machine. Ever had one of those turn off monitors in it?
Yeah, I imagine that if it was a speaker or something, maybe one of these.
Yeah,
it's like
older than me.
Like,
twice.
Right. Anyway, I feel like that's a great way to end. It told us to stop. That was what that was.
Time for you guys to leave.
All right. Thank you for joining us on the Current Comfort and Coffee podcast. We've been your hosts, Randy and John. Today's episode was brought to you by Fireside Coffee Company.
And love.
And love. Peace, love, and plants. Mumbo jumbo.
Oh. I was reading love there, but I was like, where's the L? It's not there.
Peace, love, and plants.
I like it.
All right. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again next week, hopefully. Peace.
Bye.